Welcome to the Soul and Ebony Love Stories. The channel will bring you stories of strong bonds, cultural differences, passionate love, and unforgettable dramatic events. If you love interracial love stories and cinematic storytelling, then this is the place for you. Enjoy listening. Please subscribe to the channel to hear more great stories. I became a mafia boss's wife to erase a $3 million debt that was never mine to begin with. And the worst part is I said yes before he even finished the sentence. The smell of oil and burnt metal still clung to the garage when he walked in, like he did not belong in a place that honest. My father froze the second he saw him. I had never seen that look on his face before, not even when the bank tried to take everything we owned. This was different. This was fear without hope. Sang-Wook Han did not raise his voice. He did not need to. The entire room bent around him like gravity had shifted. Men followed him in, quiet, precise, watching everything. I wiped my hands on a rag and stepped forward before my father could speak. I asked what he wanted. My voice was steady, even though my chest felt tight. He looked at me then. Not quickly, not casually, slowly, like he was deciding something that had already been decided. My father started talking, stumbling over apologies, promising to pay, begging for time we did not have. I wanted to tell him to stop. Begging would not work on a man like that. Sang-Wook listened for exactly 10 seconds before he lifted one hand and silence fell instantly. Then he said the number again. $3 million. It sounded heavier the second time. My father shook his head, his hands trembling, trying to explain the route had failed. The shipment never arrived. Everything collapsed at once. I felt something cold settle in my stomach. This was never about a loan. This was about punishment. Sang-Wook took one step closer, his shoes barely making a sound on the concrete floor. He looked past my father and back at me. That was when everything shifted. I felt it before he spoke. The weight of it. The decision. He said he would erase the debt. Just like that. Clean. Final. My father nearly collapsed in relief. But Sang-Wook was not looking at him anymore. He was looking at me. Then he said it. She becomes my wife. The words did not echo. They did not need to. They landed exactly where they were meant to. My father started shaking his head immediately, saying no, saying he would find another way, saying I was not part of this. I stepped forward before he could finish. I do not remember deciding. I just remember knowing. This was the only way he walked out of this alive. I asked one question. If I agree, the debt is gone. Sang-Wook did not hesitate. Yes. No contract. No delay. Just a promise spoken like law. I nodded once. My father grabbed my arm, his voice breaking, telling me not to do this, telling me we would figure something out. I gently pulled free. I told him it was already figured out. I turned back to Sang-Wook and told him I would go with him. I expected him to smile, or to look satisfied, or to show something that proved I had just become a transaction. He did none of that. He simply turned and walked out, like this was always how it would end. I followed him without looking back. Not because I was not scared, but because if I did, I might not have the strength to keep going. The car door opened for me. I got in. And just like that, my name stopped being mine. The first thing I notice is how quiet everything is. Not peaceful quiet. Controlled quiet. The kind that makes you aware of every breath you take. The car ride feels endless, even though I know we never leave the city. Houston passes by outside the tinted windows like it belongs to someone else now. I sit still, hands folded in my lap, replaying what just happened over and over until it stops feeling real. No one speaks to me. Not the driver. Not the men in front. Not him. Sang-Wook sits beside me like I am not even there, scrolling through his phone, giving orders in a language I do not understand but somehow still feel. Every word sounds final. Like something is always ending when he speaks. When the car finally stops, I expect something dramatic. A mansion with gates. Guards with guns drawn. Instead, it is worse. It is clean. Perfect. Cold. The kind of place where nothing is out of place because nothing is allowed to be. The doors open before we reach them. People are already waiting. They do not greet me. They acknowledge him. That tells me everything. Inside, the air smells expensive. Polished wood, faint perfume, something sharp underneath that reminds me I do not belong here. I stop walking at the edge of the main room without meaning to. It feels like stepping too far would lock something behind me forever. He notices. Of course he does. He turns slightly, just enough to make it clear I am expected to keep moving. I force my feet forward. This is the choice I made. I remind myself of that. No one forced me. That is the lie I hold on to. A woman approaches me with folded clothes. Silk. Neutral colors. Not flashy, but worth more than everything I own combined. She does not ask if I want them. She simply hands them to me and gestures toward a hallway. I take them because refusing would not change anything. The room I am shown is bigger than our entire house. Floor-to-ceiling windows. A bed that looks untouched. No personal items. No warmth. Just space waiting to be filled by someone else's life. Mine, apparently. I change slowly, watching myself in the mirror like I am studying a stranger. The clothes fit perfectly. That unsettles me more than anything. When I step back out, he is waiting. Still composed. Still unreadable. He tells me dinner is ready. Not asks. Tells. I follow him because there is nothing else to do. The table is set for two. No staff in sight. Just us. The silence stretches as we sit across from each other. I wait for him to say something. He does not. Finally, I break it. I ask what this is supposed to be. A marriage. A transaction. A punishment. He looks at me for a long moment before answering. He says it is an agreement. Nothing more. Nothing less. I almost laugh, but it comes out hollow. I ask what the rules are. He does not list them. He does not need to. He says one thing. No one disrespects you. Not here. Not anywhere. His tone does not change, but the weight behind it does. I realize he is not making a promise. He is stating a fact. I test it sooner than I should. One of the men outside the dining room looks at me too long when I pass by later. It is subtle. Most people would miss it. I do not. Neither does Sang-wook. The next morning, that man is gone. No explanation. No discussion. Just absence. That is when the rules become real. Not spoken. Enforced. Days pass in a strange rhythm. I am not locked in. Doors open when I approach them. But there is always someone nearby. Watching without watching. I try to leave once, just to see what happens. The gate opens halfway, then stops. A voice over the speaker tells me the outside is not safe yet. I turn back before I can ask what that means. Because I already know. Safe for who? That night, he brings me something. A box. Jewelry. Heavy. Expensive. I do not open it all the way before I close it again and push it back toward him. I tell him I am not something he can decorate. For the first time, something shifts in his expression. Not anger. Not surprise. Something sharper. He asks me why I agreed to this if I hate it so much. I tell him I did not agree for him. I agreed for my father. The words sit between us like a line neither of us can cross. He nods once, like he understands more than he says. Then he does something I do not expect. He tells me I can say no. Not to the marriage. That is already done. But to everything else. To the gifts. To the expectations. To him. The statement does not feel freeing. It feels like another kind of control. Because now, every choice I make belongs to me. And that is somehow heavier than being forced. Later that night, I hear raised voices downstairs. Not loud. Not chaotic. Controlled anger. I step closer without thinking. One of his men is arguing with another. Something about boundaries. About lines that should not be crossed. Then I hear my name. My chest tightens. Before I can process it, Sang-wook appears. The room goes still instantly. He does not ask what happened. He does not need to. He looks at the man who spoke my name like he already knows. Then he gives one order. Quiet. Final. The man tries to explain. It does not matter. He is removed within seconds. Gone. Just like the other one. I stand there, frozen, realizing something I cannot ignore anymore. I am not trapped here because he wants to own me. I am trapped here because everyone else believes I belong to him. And that belief is more dangerous than anything he has done. When he turns to me after, his expression is the same as always. Calm, controlled, untouched by what just happened. He asks if I am alright. The question feels almost absurd. I nod anyway, because I do not know what else to do. He studies me for a second longer, then tells me to get some rest. Like this is normal. Like this is a life someone chooses. I walk back to my room slowly, every step heavier than the last. When I close the door behind me, the silence presses in again. I sit on the edge of the bed and stare at my hands. They are steady. That scares me more than anything, because it means I am already adapting, already learning the rules of a world I never wanted to understand. And the worst part is, somewhere deep down, I am starting to realize he is not the only one controlling what happens next. I do not start looking for answers because I am curious. I start because I am tired of being the only person in this house who does not understand why I am here. The silence, the rules, the way everyone moves around me like I matter more than I should, none of it makes sense if this was just about a debt. People like Sang-wook do not trade millions for nothing. That truth sits in the back of my mind until I cannot ignore it anymore. It begins with something small. A locked drawer in his office that was not fully closed. I was not supposed to be in there. I know that. But no one stopped me. No alarms. No guards rushing in. Just that same invisible permission that makes everything here feel like a test. I open it slowly, expecting money, contracts, something ordinary in his world. Instead, I find a folder. Old. Worn at the edges like it has been handled more than anything else in this house. My name is not on it. That would have been too obvious. But my last name is Lane. My fingers tighten around the paper before I even open it. Inside, there are photographs. Old ones. Faded. A younger version of my father standing next to people I do not recognize. Men who look like they belong to a different time, a different version of the world I thought I understood. And then I see her. A woman I have only seen in one other place. My childhood. My mother. The air leaves my lungs so fast it feels like I have been hit. I sit down without realizing it, staring at the photo like it might change if I look long enough. She is smiling, standing close to a man I do not know. Not my father. Something inside me twists. I flip to the next page. Documents. Dates. Locations. Words that start to connect in ways I do not want them to. Smuggling routes. Names crossed out. Payments never completed. Betrayal. The word is not written, but it is there in everything else. I hear footsteps before I can process what I am seeing. I close the folder too quickly, but not before I know it is already too late. He is standing in the doorway when I look up. Not surprised. Not angry. Just watching. That is worse. I stand slowly, holding the folder like it weighs more than it should. I ask him what it is. He does not answer right away. He steps into the room, closes the distance between us with that same controlled calm, and takes the folder from my hands without force. Like it already belongs to him. Maybe it does. I tell him I saw my mother. That gets a reaction. Small, but real. His jaw tightens just enough for me to notice. I ask him why her picture is in his house. Why my family name is tied to whatever this is. The questions come faster now. Sharper, harder to stop. He does not interrupt. He lets me speak until I run out of breath. Then he says one thing. Your father owes more than money. The words land heavier than anything he has said before. I shake my head, refusing to accept it. I tell him my father is not a criminal. He worked his whole life to keep us afloat. He sacrificed everything. Sang-wook watches me like he has heard that story before. Maybe he has. He tells me people do not always tell the truth about who they used to be. I feel something crack inside my chest. I ask him what my father did. He does not give me details. Not yet. He says there was a deal. A route. Trust that should not have been broken. People who paid for that mistake. His voice does not rise, but there is something underneath it now. Something older. Colder. I realize then this is not just business for him. This is personal. I step back, needing space that does not exist in this room. I tell him this does not justify what he did. Choosing me. Forcing this. Turning my life into payment for something I did not do. For the first time, his expression shifts into something I can almost recognize as conflict. He says I was not chosen by accident. That is it. No apology. No explanation. Just confirmation. The room feels smaller after that. Like the walls moved in without anyone touching them. I laugh, but there is no humor in it. I tell him that makes it worse. That means he planned this. That means every moment since the garage was already decided before I even knew what was happening. He does not deny it. That hurts more than if he had. I turn away, trying to hold on to something that still feels like mine, but everything is slipping. My father, my past, even my mother, who I thought I understood, is now part of something I never saw coming. That night, I cannot sleep. Every sound feels sharper. Every shadow feels wrong. Then it happens. Not slowly. Not with warning. The glass in my room shatters inward before I even have time to sit up. The sound is violent, immediate. I drop to the floor instinctively, heart slamming against my ribs. There is movement outside, fast and precise. Someone is here. Not by accident. Not random. Targeted. I crawl toward the wall, trying to make sense of what is happening, when the door bursts open and Sang-wook is there. He reaches me before I can react, pulling me back as another shot cracks through the air, splintering the wall where I was seconds ago. My ears ring. My breath disappears. He does not speak. He just moves. Positioning himself between me and the window like that is the only place he needs to be. The guards flood in moments later, but it is already over. Whoever came is gone. Just like that. I sit there, shaking now, unable to stop it this time. The truth settles in whether I want it to or not. This was not about the debt. This was never just about my father. I was brought here because of something buried in the past, something dangerous enough that it is still killing people now. I look up at him, searching for something that makes sense. All I find is the same controlled expression, but I see it now. The reason behind it. He did not bring me here to punish me. He brought me here because I am part of a war that never ended. The fear does not leave me after the attack. It sharpens. It focuses. It becomes something I can use. I sit on the edge of my bed, glass scattered across the floor, the night air still slipping through the broken window, and I realize something that changes everything. I was never meant to survive this quietly. If I stay passive, I die. If I keep reacting, I lose. That leaves one option. I stop being the piece on the board and start understanding the game. By morning, the house is already moving differently. More guards. More silence. More tension wrapped in control. Sang-wook does not come to me immediately. That tells me he is thinking. Calculating. When he finally does, I do not wait for him to speak first this time. I tell him hiding me is not working. I tell him whoever is coming after us knows exactly where I am and why I matter. He watches me carefully, like he is deciding whether I have crossed a line or stepped into something else entirely. I tell him the truth he is avoiding. I am not just connected to his past. I am the part of it his enemies can reach. That makes me the key. The word hangs there between us. He does not like it. I can see that immediately. But he does not deny it. That is all I need. I step closer, forcing him to face it with me. I tell him we stop waiting for the next attack. We make them come to us on our terms. We control where and when this ends. His expression tightens, not in anger, but in resistance. He says it is too dangerous. I almost laugh. I remind him danger already found me in my own room. The argument is short because there is no real counter to that. He exhales slowly, the closest I have seen him come to hesitation. Then he asks me what I am proposing. That is the moment everything shifts. Not because he agrees. Because he is asking. I tell him we use what they want. Me. We make it look like I am exposed. Not hidden behind walls and guards. Vulnerable. Moving. Visible. Enough to draw them out. He steps closer, his voice lower now, more controlled than before. He says no. Immediate. Final. I expected that. I tell him this is not his decision alone anymore. I am already part of this whether he likes it or not. If I am the reason they are coming, then I decide how I am used. The words come out harder than I planned, but I do not take them back. For a long second, we just stand there, the tension between us thick enough to feel. Then something shifts in his eyes. Not acceptance. Not fully, but recognition. He understands I am not going to step back from this. He nods once, slow, deliberate. That is all. The plan forms quickly after that. Too quickly for doubt to catch up. Information moves through channels I still do not fully understand. Names, locations, patterns. I listen more than I speak, piecing together what I can. There is a gathering happening in 2 nights. Not public, not official, but important enough that the people who matter will be there, including the ones who have been watching us. That is where we draw the line. That is where we end this. The preparation is different from anything I expected. No weapons handed to me. No instructions barked out. Instead, he teaches me how to see, who to watch, what movements mean, where danger shows itself before it strikes. It is not about turning me into something I am not. It is about making me aware of what I already stepped into. The night before the event, we sit across from each other again, like that first dinner, but nothing feels the same. The silence is no longer empty. It is loaded. I ask him about my mother, not because I expect a full answer, because I need something real before this ends. He tells me she was not supposed to be part of what happened, that she tried to stop something that was already set in motion. His voice changes when he says it. Softer, not weak, just human. I do not push further. That is enough for now. The next night, everything moves like a storm about to break. The location is hidden behind layers of legitimacy. A private event dressed as business. Power wrapped in polite conversation. I walk in beside him, aware of every eye that lands on me. They all know who I am. Not by name, by position. His wife. The word still feels foreign, but I use it now. I wear it like armor. The room is alive with quiet tension. Conversations that mean more than they sound. Smiles that hide calculation. I stay close, but not dependent. That is important. I am not here to be protected. I am here to be seen. Then I feel it. The shift. The attention tightening in one direction. I follow it without turning my head too quickly. There. Across the room. A man watching me with too much focus. Not curiosity. Not interest. Recognition. My pulse spikes, but I keep my expression neutral. This is what we wanted. I take a slow step away from Sang-wook, just enough to create space. Just enough to look vulnerable. The man moves almost immediately. That is confirmation. He approaches with controlled confidence, blending into the room like he belongs there. When he stops in front of me, his smile is polite. Empty. Dangerous. He says my name like he has been waiting to say it. Everything inside me tightens, but I do not step back. I hold his gaze. I let him see that I am not afraid, even if that is only half true. Behind me, I can feel Sang-wook watching, waiting for the moment to act. But this part is mine. I speak first. I ask him how long he has been looking for me. The question lands exactly how I need it to. His smile flickers. Just for a second. That is all it takes. The mask cracks. And in that moment, I know we found him. The moment the mask cracks, everything moves faster than I can think. His eyes shift, just slightly, and that is all the confirmation anyone needs. I see it ripple through the room like a silent signal. People step back without making it obvious. Conversations stop without fully dying. Power rearranges itself in real time. He realizes it too late. When he glances past me and sees Sang-wook already watching, already prepared, the calm slips completely. Not panic. Something colder. Desperate calculation. He reaches for control, tries to turn it into a conversation, into something contained. But the space is no longer his to shape. I hold his gaze a second longer, then step back. That is the cue. Sang-wook moves forward, Not rushed, not aggressive, just inevitable. He does not accuse. He does not raise his voice. He simply says the man's name. Quiet. Final. The room tightens around that sound. No one interrupts. No one defends him. In this world, hesitation is death, and he hesitated. The man laughs once, sharp and empty, like he already knows how this ends. He looks at me, not with anger, but with something almost impressed. Like I played a role he did not expect me to understand. Then the guards close in. Clean. Efficient. No chaos. No spectacle. Just removal. Just consequence. And just like that, it is over. The threat that followed me from the moment I stepped into that car is gone. But the weight of it does not disappear with him. It settles into the space he leaves behind. The room slowly breathes again, but nothing feels the same. I stand there, heart still racing, realizing I did not just survive this. I helped end it. Sang-wook turns to me, and for a moment, everything else fades. No guards. No watchers. Just the two of us standing in the quiet after the storm. He does not thank me. He does not need to. I can see it in the way he looks at me now. Not as a debt. Not as a choice he made. As something that chose him back. That realization hits harder than anything else tonight. I take a step away, creating distance before it disappears completely. This was never supposed to be my life. I remind myself of that. The debt is gone. The past is uncovered. The war is finished. There is nothing holding me here anymore. He tells me I am free to leave. No conditions. No expectations. Just the truth. It is the first real thing he has given me since the beginning. I nod slowly, because I understand what it costs him to say that. I turn and walk away before I can hesitate. Outside, the night air feels different. Lighter. Real. My phone buzzes in my hand. A message from my father. Safe. Waiting. I close my eyes for a second, letting that sink in. Then I keep walking. Not because I am running. Because I finally can. But as I move forward, I realize something I did not expect. Some debts are not erased with money. Some stay with you, written in your name. Some debts look like numbers on paper. Others follow you into every room, every choice, every version of who you become. I thought I traded my name to save my father, but in the end, I took something back that no one could price. My voice, my power, my right to choose. And maybe that is the truth no one tells you. Sometimes the thing that traps you is the same thing that sets you free. So tell me honestly, if you were in my place, would you have said yes that night in the garage, or would you have let everything burn instead? If this story pulled you in, do not forget to subscribe, hit like, and drop your thoughts in the comments. I read them all, and I want to know what you would have done.